Last week, you and other network doctors met with the Vice President about this outbreak. What can you tell us about the meeting?
I can tell you a lot about it. First of all, it happened pretty last minute. It was myself, 3 other doctors with Vice President Pence and Dr. Debbie Birx, who's the ambassador leading the coronavirus task force. We met for about 30 to 45 minutes. It was not only did they want to hear our questions, but they were also updating us on what they were learning literally minute to minute. And I think what I left with was kind of this general concept again, and really truly from the middle, which is there's a lot of finger pointing going on, there's a lot of blame, that is a waste of time when you're dealing with a public health crisis.
That's not helping anybody.
And it's coming from both sides. You guys know I try to stay in my lane, which is the medical lane, not the political lane. But it reminded me of that saying, which is be careful when you point a finger, because there's 3 pointing right back at you. And that's happening on both sides. We cannot look in the rearview mirror anymore. We have an active and evolving situation. We need to look forward, and we need to look in the present. And right now, no one has a crystal ball here. No one knows what's going to happen. No one knows, is it too much reaction? Is it not enough reaction? And in medicine, you have to get all your ducks in a row, because these aren't just case counts we're hearing. These represent real people,
Did you
real
get a
lives.
sense that the administration had a good understanding of the depth and the breadth of this crisis?
Dr. Carson, who's usually in charge of housing, is now on the case.
Well, that's why I wore this jacket, Joy, because I figured if I need to step into a role, I'm ready. No, listen, I think that it's very important for risk communication in a medical or public health crisis to be organized. And I think that there are a lot of people who are even saying, well, this is being blown out of proportion. In the hospital, if you're sick and you're nervous and you say, Dr. Ashton, I'm really panicked, I don't say, Joy, you're blowing it out of proportion, and when you're maybe in critical condition.
Well, that's what I like, because you're all about facts over fear, which is so important. Now, the CDC is actually saying maybe you shouldn't take cruise vacations right now, long plane trips. A lot of us I have a vacation planned next month out of the country. Should we be planning
I canceled my trip to Italy already.
Well, listen, I'm glad you asked about that, Deb.
I'm just talking about someplace else.
First of all, I have plans to travel to Florida this week for work. As of now, I'm going, unless that whole event is canceled. But I think your question is an important one. First of all, it depends on your risk tolerance, who you are, where you're going, why you're going, when you're going, and how you're going. Do not think that while cruise ships are probably the most high-risk way of traveling right now, because it's the most people in the closest quarters for a prolonged period of contact.
Well, there's the subway, too.
But exactly,
and the buses.
There's, as they say in Dr. Seuss world, planes, trains, automobiles, cars. There are a lot of different ways people travel today. It depends on risk versus benefit.
So if you get on a subway or a bus, are you spraying your hands? Are you spraying the strap hangers?
It's almost like you're following me around, Deb. I am trying to sanitize New York City one ride at a time. But I think that you have to take the steps that we know we can take. I know they don't sound sophisticated or high-tech, but when we say wash your hands, it's because that is one way, not the only way, but one way we think this virus.
If you feel sick, do you go to the emergency room?
Not with this, because again, we have to remember there are people having heart attacks and strokes and accidents being taken care of in the emergency room.
So where do you go? And what do you do?
If you have a provider, you want to call that person, just as you would. I just asked you this, Sonny, 6 months ago, if you were feeling sick, would you go to an emergency room?
No,
if the answer is yes,
call your doctor.
then you should go now. If you're having difficulty.
What about if you don't have health insurance?
Yes, most people would go to
so I'm
the
going to say,
room.
so if you don't have a provider, you want to call the local health department, call the local emergency room if you're having mild symptoms. Burdening our ERs is going to be a secondary wave that is going to have a really negative impact on our health system. So we have to respond based on fact and not fear. I know it's hard, but this is, as I said to you, what would you do 6 months ago if you got a cough or a sore throat?
I'm in a unique situation. I live with a doctor.
They're the worst people to get, right? Well,
and
you know
also
that
the people that are flying in.
Don't.
No, do, because there are a lot of Americans coming back from places.
Right.
And they are, a great many of them are self...
Practice good hygiene.
Self-quarantine. Your point is we have to start acting for the protection of those around us, not just ourselves.
Yeah.